want to bring on our guest today because we have some things to add too.
We are privileged to have with us two wonderful people, Cecilia Williams and Paula White. Cecilia is a PhD, Paula is a CPA, and welcome to the Vernucio-Novak Report.
Well, thank you very much for allowing us to be on the show.
You know, we were just talking before, our seniors over the past 7 years have been deprived of cost of living increases in their Social Security more times than any similar period in the past. I know this year itself, our seniors are not getting their cost of living increase in Social Security, I believe. One of the things the administration is saying is that, well, there's really no inflation. You got to wonder, have these guys gone into a supermarket lately?
Well, not only that, but the way the cost of living is calculated is based on total living expenses. So it may be great that the cost of gasoline is going down if you're a commuter. But if you're retired and your main concern is the doubling cost of health care, then that 1.7 increase isn't really going to help you a lot.
Absolutely. We, of course, are in a presidential election year. What are the issues that seniors should be concentrating on?
Well, I think one of the most important questions to ask is Medicare going to be there in the way it was promised? Since the beginning of our working lives, we've been paying into a system under the promise that that system would be there to protect us when we needed it. That Medicare fund has been borrowed from for other purposes. And the question is, will it be there for us? We're living in a situation where in 1950, there were 17 workers paying into that system. And in 15 years, or by 2030, I guess my math's a little bit off there, but by 2030, there's going to be one worker for every one person receiving. So how will that system be supported?
It seems to me that in the old days, we hear candidates say, you're better off than 4 years ago. If we talk about our seniors, are our seniors better off today? It sounds like they're not.
Right, and it really depends on where you are. You know, we survived the second greatest depression during 2007, 2008. And like the old saying goes, if you lost your job, you were in a depression, and if you had it, you were in a recession. So there were many people who had a very critical part in of their life, lost life savings, you know, maybe cashing out a 401k, trying to decide whether they should send their kids to college and keep a roof over their head, but they lost savings of a lifetime.
Now, I know you have a lot of this information in your great book, the Act 3 or Anti-Retirement Playbook. What inspired you to write it?
Well, we could see that there was going to be a very different, you know, quote-unquote retirement years for the people ahead. Our lives are longer. We have every expectation to be able to live into our 90s and maybe into 100, just with the continuing improvements in healthcare. So what we encourage people to do is think about what they want to do with their Act 3, their second half of life. Act 3 is the time after you have raised your family, you've done the career things, you've done everything that society expected of you, and now it's time to stop worrying about keeping up with the Joneses and figure out what you really want to do in life. Once you know what you want to do in life, then you'll find a way to fund it. So in our book, we really take people through the process so they can figure out what that is, because it's been a long time since we really allowed ourselves to think about what our goals were, and make the plans for great Act 3.
You know, there are two issues which I think really affect seniors a lot in terms of the funds that are supposed to have been set aside for them. Under the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, we've seen an explosion in Medicaid. And you wonder whether that's siphoning funds, realistically, that the government could have put into Medicare. The other part is that when you look at the funds available in Social Security, and by the way, as I'm sure you know, you could probably tell us more about it, everyone, I think, thought at one point that when you pay that Social Security out of your paycheck, that there was this little locked box or account in D.C. with your name on it, and no one could touch it. When you retire, that money was definitely going to be there for you. Instead, the dollars went into the general treasury. Over the past several years, we've seen a 41% increase in programs like food stamps. And we haven't seen a lot of dollars being put into the Social Security Fund to prevent it from going bankrupt. Do you think there's been almost a conscious decision in Washington to say, and I'm going to be very crude the way I say this, the heck with the seniors, but we're going to do this for these other folks because we get more votes out of them?
Well, exactly. I think the decisions have been made for the purposes of politics, not for the purposes of society. That's why I think when we're taking a look at the massive social changes that are going to happen over the next 30 years as baby boomers who really have not yet retired start entering into retirement, we're going to need a bipartisan, multi-functional, multi-knowledge-based team to solve the many issues that will be arising. We need creative solutions in everything from, the producers of goods who are supposedly providing products for the senior population, to government, to healthcare, to education, because certainly people at the age of 55 may need to re-educate in order to stay in the field of employment longer. We need a multi-phase solution that addresses the fact that there's no one group called seniors. That's one of the issues. A 69-year-old who is in very good health, is well educated, who would like to stay in the workforce a little longer, has different needs from someone who's 89 and is concerned primarily about health care and home health care.
Now, groups like AARP have really supported the president's agenda very strongly. Do you find in general that seniors go along with what's happening today? Do they realize what is the reality?
No, I don't think baby boomers, who are the upcoming retirement group, are really taking a look seriously. I think they're thinking that they're going to somehow be able to leave the workforce and live the retirement of their parents. Although surveys continuously show that about 2/3 of our 60-year-olds plan to work into at least their 70s. They intend to try to reach the extra retirement years when they have to draw their Social Security funds. And they're doing that both out of necessity and out of desire.
We keep hearing stories, anecdotal for the most part, but I think backed up by some statistics, that the unemployment rate for seniors is actually higher than the general population. And we keep hearing also that many companies, I guess out of fear of jacking up their health insurance rates, are very happy and very eager in many cases to let senior workers go.
Yes, and it's really a two-pronged problem. We do live in a youth culture. People favor the younger person, maybe their salaries are a little bit lower, but we tend to think of those prime working years as being somewhere between 30 and 50, and then we begin to discount them. There's been some studies done by Society for Personnel and Human Resources, I think I have the name right, SPHR, that ask employees who is an older employee, and they start saying something in the 40s. Now, HR professionals don't feel that way, but the worker out there believes that you're getting a little long in the tooth, somewhere around 50, and that's just not true. On the other hand, seniors have a requirement, or an older worker has the responsibility to keep pace with the technology, because technology continues to change our work environment. And if you don't refresh your skills and think about how you're going to reskill in order to maintain a longer employability, then that burden is on you as well.
When you said that, I was thinking of a story I read the other day where in the Silicon Valley, they're talking about people who are over 30 as being over the hill because they're not in touch with the newest technology.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a Washington Post article a few years ago, and it made the front page of the paper because it was a woman writer in Hollywood who's 28 years old, and she admitted that she had to lie about her age in order to get writing jobs because she was over the hill. And believe me, I was very long gone, 28. You start to wonder why it's so skewed when seniors have so much knowledge and wisdom and know how to manage people, that none of that is valued today.
We're speaking with Celia Williams and Paula White, authors of a great new book, Act 3, Your Retirement Playbook, Anti-Retirement Playbook. It seems that in most cultures throughout humanity, seniors were considered an asset. Their wisdom was valued. They were respected, put on a pedestal almost. How have we come to a point in our society when it seems just the opposite? We're ready to basically put these folks out on an ice floe and send them away.
Exactly. Where did it all go wrong? Certainly we changed society. We went from an agricultural society into first manufacturing and then into the knowledge age. And I think we've sort of abandoned in some ways the high tech to be associated with young. And certainly the young pick it up much faster than older people. But I think that's where we need to become activists as older workers to demand our relevancy. And, if you just take an example of the workplace, if somebody is putting in a new technology system, it should be the older person who volunteers to put that system in or to do the training about it. And employers and employees need to recognize that isn't automatically a job for the young person.
It's funny when you said that. I have two kids 5 years apart. Mm-hmm. And at one point, when they were both in their teen years, my youngest was playing with a new program, and I said, "Does your brother know about this? Does he use the program too?" And she goes, "Well, you know how the older kids are; they just don't get it anymore."
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why in actually your anti-retirement playbook, we dedicated an entire section to technology. Because if you just think back to 10 years ago, I think I got my first smartphone. I was on a BlackBerry before, but that didn't have connectivity. So just imagine what your life would be if you had not entered into the world of smartphones. Paul and I happen to be college instructors. We walk into the classroom today, and our students are connected to they actually put things on the whiteboard from their phone in order to discuss things, So if we had not entered into that smartphone arena, we would not be able to access my physician's patient portal and get information about my latest lab tests. I wouldn't be able to communicate intergenerationally. I wouldn't be able to hook in my GPS system into the car and figure out how to get to point A to point B. I'd be lost.
Yeah, I went to law school, and at that time it was traditional paper chase. I mean, you wanted, after an assignment was given, you raced down to the library to be the first one to get one of the only 2 or 3 copies of the book that you were assigned.
Right.
When my son went to law school, they had a visiting day, and they all had laptops on their desk, and all they had to do was click a button, and they were right into that law. It was a totally different experience.
It really is different.
And now they're doing the same with their phone.
Right.
When I went to
one step further.
When I went back to grad school, I was a little bit older, and I was entering this PhD program. And the first thing when I entered the campus was they said I had to take a computer class so I could use the library. And I thought, they're nuts. You go in and you take a book out. What are they talking about? Well, what do you think life for seniors will be like in the coming 5 or 10 years?
I think it's going to be very, very exciting. We get to define it now. And the wonderful thing about baby boomers is we have changed every definition of what it means to go through the stages of life. When we were young, we were activists. We changed the workforce in our 30s. We changed what it meant to be mature. And now we get to redefine that old thing called retirement. We get to call it Act 3. So
Fantastic.
People are doing really exciting things. They're seeking flexibility in work rather than leaving work. The word retire means to pull away, and I don't think baby boomers are going to pull away by and large.
Before we leave, how can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Well, we're available. All the books are sold. We're available on Amazon. We're available through Barnes & Noble, all of the online sources. You can get the mobile app through whatever mobile programs you have. And, of course, you can visit our website on My Act 3. That's the regular number 3, myact3.com. Find out more about us. Download the worksheets that go with the book. And by all means, get the book, read it, make your Act 3 really great.
So Celia Williams and Paula White, thank you so much for being on the Vernucio-Novak Report.
This has been the Vernucio-Novak Report with Frank Vernuccio and Daria Novak. We broadcast in Las Vegas, Nevada at 92.1 FM, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 1640 AM and 102.1 FM, Tampa, Florida, 92.1 FM, Macon, Georgia, 810 AM and 98.3 FM, Boulder, Colorado, 100.7 FM, Philadelphia, Southern New Jersey, 1360 AM, and in Pittsburgh at 107.3 FM. We're available on AMFM247.com, iHeart, Spreaker, and Restore American Networks. You can access the program on our website at usagovpolicy.com. Thanks for listening and join us again next week. We're sponsored by the New York Analysis of Policy and Government at usagovpolicy.com and the Institute for American Politics. Email us at truthinradio@gmail.com and tune in to the American Political Zone television show, also on the AMFM247.com network.
Our producer is the amazing Abigail White, and our director is the brilliant Jeff Hansen.